this is the summary for the day of 585 for the 1st of October. So just some summary. The Ukrainian offensive seems to be really dying down. Basically, is winding down. We're fighting over at the Orikhiv sector near Verbove and around Robotine, as well as in the southern part of Bakhmut front, in the Klishevka, Andreevka, Kudyamivka region, as well as some parts within the Crimea front. This is pretty much what the Ukrainians have right now. This is all the Ukrainians have in terms of their offensive operations, and whatever happening in the Serebransky forestry, I think, is pretty much just a tactical thing. Is not the kind of big offensive, and the situation within the Robotine Verbove region has basically turned into much more of a tactical thing. It's like a positional warfare kind of thing. They're trying to hold whatever positions they can as long as they can. It seems like that case. The only part where the Ukrainians still seems to be pushing is in the region in the South Bakhmut. So in the South Bakhmut, they are still pushing in the Klishevka region, and over in Andreevka, they're trying to fan out from this area here, as well as trying to capture Kudyamivka. This seems to be pretty much the case. But however, the Russians are putting a strong line of defense, and there is a Russian force that has regrouped, or maybe reinforced, and they are ready to conduct a counterattack, which is already reported over at the Andreevka region. The Russians are holding their line on the eastern part of Kudyamivka, and they are trying their best to hold back the Ukrainians. But this is pretty much the only place in Ukraine right now, the only front line that the Ukrainians are seriously pushing. Pretty much the Ukrainian summer offensive, or spring, or whatever offensive you want to call it, has pretty much run to a close, and the Russians are pretty much starting to take over the initiative and doing this raiding attacks over the front lines. So not just not just some counterattack over in the Klishevka region, they are counterattacking at the Andreevka. There is push over at the Bakivka, Yakitne region. They are trying to capture Orikovo, Vasilivka, and this is just Bakhmut front. And they are also pushing back over at Torske and Serebransky forestry. A new attack at Makievka, and over in the Adievka front, we have pushing in Vasily, pushing towards Stepove. There is some attacks around the Adievka region, and also in the Marinka region, they continue their push for Marinka. They are starting a new offensive against Novomihailivka, which I have reported over the past few days. So that it was 11 to 12, 25, 29. So it was sporadic, but it seems to be more and more sustained with another one on the 1st of October. And then we have the Russians also pushing out in the south of Novodarivka, south of Rivnopil. The Ukrainians are trying to push back at Prione, but it's not going to be much, because the Russians are making this push, which is reported by both Russian and Ukrainian Defense Ministry. And then we also see the counterattack of the Russians in the Verbove region. Previously, we also have reported about the attack in South Robotine previously. So if you look in this direction, especially even Kozaksky Island, the Russians had pushed in the previous SITREP that I mentioned. The Russians has taken over the initiative on the ground combat. And I think this is pretty disappointing, I would say, for the Ukrainians that has put in so much hope into this counteroffensive. And when I zoom out, honestly, we can't really tell much of a difference. I think if I colored I should use a different color. So so the Ukrainians maybe this area here, and then there is some bit here and some bit here. Yeah, this is pretty much the success of the Ukraine offensive. Is very, very small, and this is after the expanding so much forces, equipment, and this is not even considered breaking the first line of defense, in my opinion. This is the first line. However, the first line leads to a second line over here. So even if the Ukrainians break through in this area here, they are still meeting this line which may or may not consider first or second line, because you know, when we say first or second line, this is just arbitrary. It is a continuous web of defenses, and they pretty much entered into this pocket. You know, it's like a ground. You know, you dig a hole. They look like a trench line. This is a soldier. You know, he's standing over here holding his rifle. You know, this is pretty much a trench. You know, this is basically, you know, that's what it looks like to me. It's not far. The direction is supposedly Melitopol. This is the strategic objective. This is supposed to be what is supposed to happen. It did not happen. They got bogged down over here. How many more Leopard tanks do they need? I do not know to break through this. It's a huge dampener for this pro-Ukrainian or anti-Russia side. So that's the reality. And also in the SITREP, I also mentioned about the shutdown of a Sukhoi 25 of the Ukrainians over Klishchiivka, and I mentioned this is actually the first aircraft shot down for a long time. The previous 2 aircraft that was destroyed was on the ground. So shootdowns are quite rare nowadays. But what is more significant is the Ukrainian Defense Ministry and the Air Force have not reported a shootdown of a Russian aircraft or helicopters for a very long time, even longer time. So I do not know how the Ukrainians are going to deal with this entire war situation right now with the severe lack of surface-to-air missiles. It's really clear that the Russian Air Force is conducting more and more risky bombings from as far as I can tell. So anyway, do press the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next update.